Guys, this wholesale deal makes $25,000. You heard me, $25,000. Have you ever wanted to go from being a wholesale zero to a wholesale hero? Let me show you exactly how it's done. Let's go on inside. So step one, I know you're wondering, well, where do I find these properties? Well, you could do what everybody else does, and that is go look for properties in the MLS. The problem with MLS is this: there are thousands of other investors looking for properties just like you. Or you could do what the pros do, and that is go off market. So what do I mean off market? See, if you go off market, find properties that nobody else has found. Nobody knows that they even exist. So how do you get these properties? Well, you email us at info@chicagorea.org. That's info@chicagorea.org. And guess what we're going to send you? We're going to send you the hot list. These are the properties that are the hottest properties that are off market deals. Most people don't even know that they exist. And guess what we're going to do? We're going to send it to you for free. That's step number one. Step two. Now that you got the hot list, I know you're going, what do I do with it? That's over 10,000 properties. What do I do with it, or where do I begin? Well, we're going to break it down step by step for you. The first thing you're going to do is, when you open the list, you're going to start arranging it and sorting it. So where do we begin? Well, we begin number one by figuring out what areas have the highest amount of sales and what areas are in the right price range. So how do we find that out? Well, step one is going to be you are going to go to Zillow and you're going to look on Redfin, and you're going to find areas that are not very high in price and that are areas that are not complete disasters. What you're looking for is bread and butter properties that homeowners love to buy. These are going to be starter homes or properties that are going to be move up properties in the price range of somewhere from $140,000 to about $250,000. The second thing we're going to look for whenever you go on Zillow as well as Redfin, you're going to look for areas which have a high turnover rate. See, you don't want an area where a property sits on the market for a very long time, because remember, you want to be a wholesale hero, meaning you want to get your property sold ASAP to a person who's going to do a flip or is going to buy to live in. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to look for the right price range. Second, you're going to do area selection, meaning you're going to look for an area that has a high turnover rate. The next thing what we're going to do is, if you are in Chicago, then you're going to do this by the zip code. If you're in the suburbs, you're going to do it by the town. Now, I love to do it where I alphabetize it all the way from A to Z. And then I tend to pick out towns that are within a 10 to 15 mile radius. What I would suggest if you're new to this is only start with a 10 to 15 mile radius, because guess what, guys? We gave you thousands and thousands of great deals. You only need a few to make a lot of money with wholesales. Make sure you do step two before you watch step number three. Step three. At this point, you're going to figure out what is the best price. What is the price you need to buy the property at to make sense? What do we call that? We call that maximum allowable offer, or MAO. What is your maximum allowable offer in the marketplace that will make sense? What do you need to get the property under contract for so you can make money? So here's a simple formula. You take the ARV, which is after repair value, you multiply that by 0.7, which is 70% of that number. You subtract the approximate rehabs and you subtract your wholesale fee. Now I know you're going like, Andrew, wait a minute. I'm getting confused. So let me kind of put it to you in a different way. Let's say the property after rehab is worth $200,000. Now you take that number of $200,000 and you multiply that by 0.7. Very simple. 200,000 multiplied by 0.7 is $140,000. Then you subtract an approximate rehab number. And I know you're worried, oh my God, Andrew, I don't know exactly what it costs to do a rehab. Guys, listen, you're not rehabbing it, you're wholesaling the property. So guess what? You're going to approximate the amount of rehab. So imagine that the property is going to get rehabbed for about $35,000 to $40,000. For simple purposes, we're going to take $40,000 as our rehab number. So now you have it 140, subtract $40,000. Now, this is where your wholesale profit comes in. So on a property like that, how much is a reasonable amount for you to make as a wholesaler? See, to me, it's going to be about $10,000 to $15,000 if you're new. So I'm going to put a number of $15,000. So from $100,000, you subtract your wholesale fee, and that's going to be $15,000. So guess what you need to buy the property at? You need to buy that property for $85,000. And guess what? If the property is small or the property is big, that formula will work every single time. And the bigger you get in terms of the more experience that you have with wholesales, you're going to be able to charge more and more and more in terms of your wholesale fee. So by now, I know you're a bit confused. You're like, Andrew, wait a minute. I thought you were going to give me all the steps. And guys, I wish I had the entire time in the world to teach you everything there is to know about wholesaling. We're going to go through the exact steps, but yet, if you want more detail and you really want hands-on experience, show up at one of the meetings at Chicago RIA. The information is 100% free, and guess what you'll get? You'll get to meet actual experts that are right here in the Chicagoland area. The perfect part about these meetings is this, that they're all over the Chicagoland area and they're free. In fact, there is one this week. How do you look it up? You go to chicagorea.org. That's Chicago RIA, Chicago REIA.org. I look forward to seeing you at one of these meetings. Now, let's go to point number 4. One of the most critical phases of wholesaling is getting the property under contract, and guess what? Most people screw this up because they simply don't have the right contract. At Chicago RIA, we have a contract specifically designed for wholesaling. And guess what? Built within that contract, we have 4 things. Number 1, as is, where is. Meaning, you're going to buy the property in as is condition and you're going to buy where is. Number 2 is fast cash. You're going to close on the property quickly, or you're going to have another person assume your position, meaning you can close on the property really quickly. Number 3 is going to be no cost to the seller. See, most people, when they're selling a property, especially when it's a distressed sale, they want to close quickly and they don't want any out-of-pocket expenses. The best part, it's baked right into the contract. And the most important is number 4. Most wholesalers forget this most important step. Guess what? If you make a mistake, well, there is a escape clause. Just in case you need to be able to get out of the contract, there's an escape clause that's built in right into the contract that protects you, the wholesaler. The next step is cash buyers. So you could kind of do it the old-fashioned way, which is you could stick a sign in the yard called bandit signs, or you could send out a mailing, or you could do it the best possible way, and that is get access to cash buyers who are buying properties right in your area. You know the place to start? And that is go to your local RIA meeting. That's Real Estate Investors Association meetings. Here in Chicago, that is Chicago RIA. It's the largest association of real estate investors. You know the best part? There are thousands and thousands of buyers that are looking for deals just like the one you have. The last and the most critical step is getting paid. So 2 ways of getting paid on a wholesale deal. You could do an assignment of contract, or you could do a double close. Now, I know some of you go, Andrew, what are these terms? What does it mean? Think about it. Assigning somebody something. What does that mean? Meaning that you have a contract with the seller and you're going to assign the right to buy the property to your cash buyer, simply called assignment of contract. Number two is a double close, also known as a simultaneous close. Meaning you're going to buy the property and right away, immediately, right after your closing, the next minute you're going to resell it to the buyer that's going to buy your contract for a wholesale profit. So, well, how should it matter to you, and when do you use an assignment of contract versus when do you do a double close? Simple rule, and the rule goes something like this. If you're going to make $7,000 or more in a contract, you do a double close. If you're going to make less than $7,000 on a wholesale deal, you do an assignment. So you should be thinking, well, why? Why is that rule in place? Why does $7,000 matter? See, as assignment of a contract, the cost of that contract to assign is not really too high. Hence, you're going to assign the contract. If you're going to do a double close, that's going to cost you an additional $2,000 to $3,000. So here's an example. Let's say you're going to make $30,000 on a wholesale deal. If you're going to make $30,000, you don't want your buyer to be aware what you bought the property for. So the way to keep the price you bought the property for away from the buyer is by doing a double close. So if you have a high amount of profit, do a double close. If you have a small amount of profit, do a assignment of contract. This is Andrew. I hope you enjoyed our video. See you soon.